When you think of World War II shooters, Medal of Honor will come to mind. I think it was really the series that pushed World War II games, especially with their earlier entries, and it's still a classic series that's really loved. Now, the last proper World War II Medal of Honor game came in 2007 with Medal of Honor Airborne, before the series shifted to a modern day with a reboot in 2010 with Medal of Honor and its sequel Warfighter in 2012, but that reboot series failed, and then we had to wait 8 years to get a new Medal of Honor, which was above and beyond a World War II VR entry, but it's not a good game at all, and I don't really count it as a proper game in this series because it's just that bad. So let's take a look back at Airborne. Still a much loved game today, but how good is it? Is it still worth playing? Oh, I do need to say that I cannot play multiplayer because the servers were shut down in February 2023. So that leaves us with the single player campaign. And I'll start with the intro to the campaign because I feel like it's just a very good intro that kind of gets you a bit hyped up to play.
Jumping out of an airplane is one of the safest things a man can do, provided he follows proper procedure. When the red light goes green, you jump. Follow the man in front of you. Don't stop, don't think. Go, 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 go! Deploy your chute automatically. The chute is designed to drop you straight down. If you're headed for a bind, you can manipulate the rise to steer away from obstacles. Steer into clearings, look for green smoke. You know why we look for green smoke? Because it's proper procedure. Go, 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 go! Rookies and civilians botch their landings. You're not a rookie, are you? Flaring your chute will allow you to survey the DZ. It will also make your landing less painful. If you're heading toward danger, adjust your incoming trajectory and attempt to grease the landing. You'll be battle ready much faster. Do you read me? Move, 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 move! Vertical envelopment, troopers. Death from above. There are some in the Army who think you will amount to nothing more than a failed experiment in a new kind of combat. They don't know you like I do. I'm convinced that the end of Nazi tyranny, when it finally comes, will be delivered by the airborne. Don't disappoint me.
I think it's got this great sort of heroic feeling in the intro that actually teaches you how to play the game. It teaches you the core parachute mechanics. Don't land and you botch it, which means you'll take a long time to get your weapon ready. Hold down jump to slow down your landing, to flare it so you can land a little bit better, or grease it by holding forward as you start to land. Also, look for the green smoke when jumping. And it's important because every level starts with a jump from a plane. That's the unique hook of Medal of Honor Airborne. Now, in every level you can choose to land at the green smoke where ammo and health are, or quite literally land anywhere else on the level. And you get a briefing before each mission showing safe zones and hot zones and where your objectives are located if they're known. To demonstrate this, I landed on this balcony where a machine gunner was at the main base on the level, the main enemy position. I botched the landing, which meant I couldn't actually fight quickly and I got wrecked. So I try again, but this time I land on the roof of the main enemy location where two of the objectives are located to take out two AA guns. The first objective is to take out 3 in total. Now I could have landed in the streets and fought my way up, but what's also cool is you see other friendlies land with you, and I would say unlike pretty much any other FPS game, they can actually kill the enemy, but you cannot rely on them. So you may notice the image of the weapon in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and it's filling up with blue as I kill people, and that's the weapon upgrade system in Medal of Honor Airborne. Primary weapons can be upgraded 3 times. They auto upgrade when the bar fills up, so you get kills, that fills the bar up, get headshot kills to fill it up a little bit more. Now another thing you may have noticed is that whenever I am aiming down the sight, I am not moving. And Medal of Honor Airborne does something that I don't think I've seen in any other first person shooter. So when you ADS, you stop moving and your movement inputs become leans. So it's a bit weird, but it works. So when you're aiming down the sight and you like press W to move forward on your keyboard, you'll sort of peek up a little bit, and S makes you peek down, and A for left and D for right. It's, yeah, weird, but it works. It takes a little bit of getting used to though as well. However, hipfire accuracy is good enough in close quarters, so you can run and gun quite a lot, and you will see me running and gunning quite a lot throughout the whole playthrough. Because the gunplay, I mean, it's alright. It's not great, and one of the reasons I'll say for that is because the game uses bloom for its weapon recoil. So when you're aiming at something, even aiming down the sight, your bullets won't necessarily go where you're aiming, especially for the automatic weapons. They'll just go kind of like around where you're aiming. But since I feel that most of the combat is close quarters, it's not too bad because, yeah, if you're close quarters and your bullets are randomly dispersing around where you're aiming, you should probably hit the enemy anyway. But I would say that the moment-to-moment gameplay of Medal of Honor Airborne is good, right? It's quite enjoyable, and looking at the first mission, it is a good first mission. It's a good introduction to the game, and that's because of the focus on street-to-street, building, clearing gunfights. And once the first mission has been completed, we get introduced to the second mission, and you actually get to select your loadout before the mission starts, and then we jump in. Now, this map has quite a different flavour to the previous one. While this one is fighting amongst some ancient ruins and a little base has been set up. It's a mixture of close range and medium range fighting, and usually while making these types of videos I would talk about the game's story, how it progresses through each level and what happens and how the characters are affected. But in Airborne there isn't really a story apart from it's World War II. Each level is just its own contained thing, and that's probably down to the main hook of the game, the parachute jump, and wanting to jump across different countries while keeping you part of a squad and not trying to make you like a special ops squad tracking down some secret German World War II thing. Now, they could have had a few levels following a jump to try and expand upon what you're actually doing at each location, and there was actually planned some Pathfinder missions that would be more stealth focused, and that would actually see you control a different character, then following up that mission with the actual parachute drop. But these missions were cancelled to keep the focus on what we have and the parachute drops. There was also going to be drivable vehicles. In the game at one point, there was actually a signed partnership with Jeep, but these were cut because the levels are just too cramped and there's not enough room to really drive around. But onto this mission, it's okay. It's probably one of the weakest, I would say, in the game. And one thing that really needs to be mentioned, which you may have picked up upon while watching the footage, is that the enemies infinitely respawn. And the only way you can stop them from respawning is by pushing forward to like an invisible marker which just cuts off their spawn point. And during the game, I think on nearly every level I played, you can sometimes see the enemies spawning in. I think on the last level, I had enemies spawning in like 10 meters in front of me. It's not very good. There's not too much really to say about this mission. Like I said, it's one of the weakest, but it plays alright. Once we've completed the main objective, which is taking out some AA guns, we can call in some planes to destroy these ancient ruins, or really the artillery guns there. But now onto the main event, the airborne drop on D-Day, or the day before, during the day instead of the night. Now, obviously, because you're dropping into D-Day during the day before D-Day, it doesn't go to plan. I can understand the devs fudging history a little bit, but come on, like this is, it's just, I think it's a little bit too much, just kind of like a small thing really, but come on. And one of the things that gets really highlighted to you during these jumps is the lack of attachment to any other soldier in the game. And it sort of ties back to the lack of story, because during these drops, yeah, sometimes your AI squad mates die. It's like a scripted death, but they die in the plane. But you don't really care because they're just nameless AI. And if you think of any World War II media, so movies, TV series or other games, then you will remember those characters and the stories from those different pieces of media. Now, I can name so many characters from Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, The Pacific, Brothers in Arms, but in this game, there's no one. I can't even really remember the main character's name. And I think it's a big misfire from the game to really have no proper story or characters. In the game, you even change which unit or division you're part of to kind of explain how you quickly jump from being Italy and then into Normandy. But here we are in Normandy, taking out this Tiger tank with an M18 recoilless rifle, which is a weapon I don't think I've ever used in any World War II shooter before. But the objectives on this one, after we've taken out the tank, is to secure a spotting tower, which the Germans are using to hit the beach landings with artillery, destroy a radar, and then secure some MG pillboxes. Again, it's a pretty good level. There's a mixture of some more open areas at the start, mixed with going into some like trench combat areas, and then some close quarter stuff inside the structures that you need to secure. And it's really quite key that these missions keep mixing up the size of the combat areas, because if they kept it as like really long engagements or constant close quarter engagements, it would like get a bit boring or tiring. It's good that they keep mixing it up. I really do think the game would have benefited from having some non-parachute drop missions in the game, because we drop into Normandy, which is this mission, you know, but after this, you no longer fight in Normandy again, and the Airborne did quite a lot of stuff in Normandy, but yeah, it's just this one mission, and that's it. It's quite disappointing, really. There's so much more that they could have and should have done. Now, after Normandy, it's Operation Market Garden. This time we're jumping directly into a city. One of the key things in this mission is that it introduces us to the Gammon Bomb, which is kind of like an anti-tank, anti-vehicle, detonate on impact grenade, and use it initially to take out this roving Tiger tank. Although it doesn't detonate on impact, and the explosion, to me at least, looks a bit big, so it doesn't really matter where you throw the grenade at the tank, just as long as it lands near it. So you just destroy a Tiger tank with a few gammon bombs. And I can guess there's going to be some historians, like World War II historians, posting in the comments like, well, what's that all about? That probably can't be done. Maybe, I'm not really sure. I think this mission is a big missed opportunity, because it's really, really short. And again, Operation Market Garden, it's a big airborne operation. Yeah, it was ultimately a failure, like the whole operation, but we have this area with the tank where we need to take out a tank and some machine gunners, and then another smaller area opens up with another tank which we destroy, and then we get this big bridge, but you only fight a certain like small distance along the bridge, and then yeah, job's done. But you also get the BAR and a sniper rifle. I think this is the first mission where you get a sniper rifle, but it's just too short from start to end in this mission. It only took me 20 minutes for the whole mission, and this is the 4th mission in the game. But it's enjoyable though, just kind of too short. Now onto what I think is probably the worst level in the game, the factory. It's a larger level than the others, and it's got some added verticality, which is nice. There's quite a few objectives that feel really spread out along the map, and the enemy spawn points seem really bad, and it feels like there's a hell of a lot of them. And yeah, you get enemies spawning in directly in front of you, directly behind you, directly underneath you. I don't think this mission has had a lot of TLC during development. And the point where you need to push forward to stop the enemy spawning in, it doesn't feel like it's placed well. You can walk through one room which has only like 2 ways in. So you go into this room from one way, go out the other way, and you have people spawning back in the room behind you. It's not very good. And I think the mission is quite visually boring as well, if that makes sense. It's just a factory. There's nothing really great about it. I do use the sniper rifle quite a bit on this, and I really don't like how the sniper rifle works in Airborne. When you zoom in the scope, your whole vision is blurry until like a second or two has passed, and then it focuses on your target. I think it's trying to replicate, not being able to just quickly bring the scope up to your eye and get perfect vision. But it's a video game. It's not a realistic, tactical or hardcore one. It's just not very good. This mission also does something really bad, which is it introduces a very video gamey enemy, and it's this gas mask guy holding an MG42 and just walking around hip firing it. It's the only enemy like this in the entire game, and it just stands out so much, and it feels so out of place. It doesn't belong in this game at all. It feels like it's something from the recent Wolfenstein games. That's what it feels like. It's just not right. I don't know why they've put it in. They probably put it in to add some extra variety, but this direction isn't it. Now, the main objective of this map is to destroy a train, and I think you can go inside the train to plant some explosives, but what I did was jump on top of the train to then plant them. But I was coming up against like a physics issue, because I'd get into position where I need to place the explosives, and then I would just zoom off somewhere. It happened so many times, it was really annoying. And I think when you're playing some older games, you can come across these physics issues every now and then, because I think sometimes they're tied to your frame rate. So if your frame rate is too high, it just goes all a bit weird. But we blow up the train, and then we go on to the last level. Like, yes, this was level 5, and the last level is level 6. Now, similarly to the machine gunner gas mask guy, this level just feels very video gamey, because it's just like a giant flak tower. And again, like the MG enemy, it looks like something that should belong in Wolfenstein. I'm pretty sure there's been something like this in the recent Wolfenstein games. And logically, to take out a giant anti-aircraft tower, you send the Airborne at it. Yeah, that's what you do. And of course, the jump doesn't go to plan, because it's a giant flak tower. But it's visually cool, the design of it, and the start of the combat if you land on the roof, because you don't have to land on top of the tower, you can land on some bits on the side, but it looks cool. Now, obviously, the objective of this mission is to destroy the flak tower, so you can make it easier for planes to come in, instead of, what they probably should have done is sent in some ground troops to take it out, but, whatever. But you fight through the various different floors of it, and I think this mission can get quite confusing, as the objectives are all over the place, like all on different floors, and it's not quite clear how to change floors. There's just not central stairs or a central elevator. There can be an elevator which will change a couple of floors, but not all of them. It's a bit weird, and it's really quite bad for the enemy spawns as well. And in this mission, I did literally have some people spawning in my field of view about 10 meters in front of me. It was really quite bad. And it is one of the more frantic levels of the game, because it is the last mission. It needs to be a bit more of a challenge, but having more enemies and really bad spawns, it isn't that great. And I did say that this is the last level, and I mean, yeah, it is. And I want you guys to guess right now, just start typing now, how long you think it took for me to complete the entire game. 3.5 hours. Like, Jesus Christ. You could finish this game in one sitting. And really, this is the big budget main game of the year to come out, a Medal of Honor game, you know, before it didn't do so well. But 3.5 hours, I mean, it's largely enjoyable, but damn, that's really, really bad. You see what I mean? How they should have and could have used some other levels in, kept in those Pathfinder missions that they developed, kept in some other stuff, put some other missions in, because 3.5 hours is just not enough. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't like taking my time. I was just playing it normally. And it is a bit of a shame that I couldn't try any multiplayer because, yeah, as I said at the beginning of the video, the multiplayer servers have been turned off in February 2023. So let's wrap this up. Is Medal of Honor Airborne a good game? Yeah. Is it the best Medal of Honor game? Well, I don't know, to be honest. I haven't played all of them, but I would say I enjoyed it more than Allied Assault, which will probably get me a bunch of hate in the comments. It's just really short and it lacks an actual story. I think that's my biggest complaint, that it has no story, which is strange coming from something that has a story like Brothers in Arms. I mean, it just stands out so much that it has no story. And well, yeah, 3.5 hours is shockingly short. I tried to find the sales figures for the game to, you know, see why this never really carried on after Airborne, but I couldn't find anything. I'm going to guess that it didn't sell well enough because, you know, we know that Medal of Honor was rebooted into a modern day series that really tried to emulate Call of Duty, but that reboot failed after 2 games. And yeah, there was the VR World War II game, but honestly, that game's pretty horrendous. I wouldn't recommend that at all. I think Medal of Honor should come back as a series, but something a bit different. Not a Call of Duty clone, because they already tried that and that failed. Don't go down like a large-scale casual route like Battlefield, because EA have Battlefield. Do something different. I think EA should go down the tactical hardcore route, like something like what Rainbow Six or Ghost Recon used to be back in the old days. Or maybe get inspiration from 6 Days in Fallujah, or go to like a large scale sort of hardcore shooter like Hell Let Loose. I really think, yeah, Medal of Honor should come back in some way. But let me know what you think of Medal of Honor Airborne down in the comments below. Did you play it? Did you like it? What do you think of the series in general? Do you think it should come back or just be left alone? If you liked the video, give it a like, dislike if you didn't. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.